Penry Williams was born in Georgetown, Merthyr Tydfil in 1802, and although his name is not as well remembered as many artists from the 19th century, he was and is considered one of the greatest artists of his generation. Much of Penry's success could be attributed to his father, who was incredibly supportive and nurturing of Penry's artistic talent from a very young age. He, William Williams, was a painter and stonemason and a man of many talents, and he gave Penry many opportunities as a young child to earn extra pocket money to pay for art materials. Penry and William and the rest of their family lived at a small cottage in Georgetown. This cottage can be seen in a painting created by Penry when he was just 14 years old in 1816. It shows Georgetown just before massive workers' houses were built all across the site. This painting is incredibly characteristic of most of Penry's work from his lifetime. Penry would almost exclusively paint landscapes, as he was fascinated by the nature, and as a child could often be found wandering the landscapes around Merthyr looking for his next project to depict. It also shows the level of detail Penry was able to capture even from a young age of 14 with little to no training. In the background you can see the furnaces of Cyfarthfa, which were constructed a year or so before Penry was born. You can also see a figure of a man, presumably Penry's father, leaning on the cottage gate. The detail in Penry Williams' artwork is always something that dragged and drew many people in to view his work closely. At the same time Penry Williams was depicting his quaint cottage in Georgetown, he also decided to depict a more extreme moment in Merthyr's history. There were mass riots in Merthyr Tydfil in 1816, and like many other riots in Merthyr's history, troops were called in to quell the riots. While many people were running to be a part of the riot or running away from the riots, Penry ran for his sketchbook and made all manner of different sketches of this pivotal moment in Merthyr's history, which he later then turned into oil paintings for paying customers. Cyfarthfa Castle Museum and Art Gallery houses two examples of the Merthyr riots in 1816 by Penry Williams. Both paintings have subtle differences, but both are viewed from a then empty field which would later house Merthyr Central Library and St David's Church. Looking towards the High Street, you can see the Castle Inn pub, which is where the Iron Masters of Merthyr Tydfil gathered to discuss ending the riots, as they would in later riots and uprisings too. You can also, once again, in one of the paintings, see the characteristic blast furnaces and chimneys of Cyfarthfa ironworks. It was paintings such as these that brought Penry to the attention of many people around Merthyr Tydfil. At the age of 16 or 17, he was brought to the attention of William Crochet, the gentleman who built Cyfarthfa Castle. William Crochet would eventually introduce Penry Williams to many influential people in the art world in London. Eventually, these connections led to Penry being admitted to the Royal Academy of Arts in 1822. Like all students admitted to the Royal Academy of Arts, he was given a token made of ivory, which was also called a bone. This token marks the year and the date that Penry Williams started to study art formally. The token would be one of the most prized possessions in Penry Williams' life. Within just a 2 to 3 year period, Penry's skills as an artist advanced greatly after studying at the Royal Academy of Arts. He was commissioned to create portraits and landscapes for a great many people, even the famed Michael Faraday. During 1824-25, when Cyfarthfa Castle was being constructed, Penry was commissioned to create 21 watercolours depicting many different scenes in Merthyr and further afield. This collection of watercolours would be given as a gift to William Crochet's second wife, Isabel Thompson Crochet. When viewing these works, you can instantly see how far and how quickly Penry came on as an artist. The detail captured in these paintings are astounding, and they are the earliest known depictions of Cyfarthfa Castle. And once again, characteristic of Penry Williams, the detail in the background is equally as astounding as what's in the foreground. In this image, for example, you can see the stacked hay belonging to Pandy Farm, and then in the further distance you can see Cyfarthfa Ironworks. In another view of Cyfarthfa Castle from the rear, you can see Merthyr Tydfil town sprawling out in front of the castle. You can see the smoke billowing from the Cyfarthfa Ironworks, the hexagonal roof belonging to the Chapel of Ease at the end of Chapel Row, the birthplace of Joseph Parry. You can see Jackson's Bridge and the Old Iron Bridge stretching across the River Taff. Penry's love and admiration of the natural world is evident to see in these images. In most of them, he chooses to focus on the natural world and the landscape around Merthyr rather than the industry itself, which often features as a background to most of his images. But when he does depict industrial Merthyr, he does an incredible job of showing every fine detail of the industrial life in Merthyr Tydfil. There is very little artistic interpretation used in this image of Cyfarthfa Ironworks. Albeit the one side of the river where Cyfarthfa Ironworks was on is depicted as calm and quaint, and then on the side where the ironworks is a frantic scene of workers and puddling furnaces and people dumping waste into the River Taff. He captures the works with 7 furnaces on the site also, 2 of which had just recently been completed in 1824 and replaced the grand old water wheel, a 25-foot cast iron water wheel that was built in previous years. He also creates a truly iconic image of inside the rolling mill at Cyfarthfa Ironworks. Once again, the finer details are all on show to be seen. Straighteners hammering hot bars of iron that had just come through the rollers at Cyfarthfa Rolling Mill. The rollers themselves can also be seen pushing malleable iron through at an astounding speed with sprays and sparks of iron. You can also see clouds of steam rising from workers who are quenching the iron with water. The puddler at the puddling furnace stirring a molten mixture inside a fiery white-hot oven, and a cannon in the foreground. There were also portraits of crochet family members created as part of this collection. One of Isabel Thompson Crochet herself possibly depicts her sitting inside Cyfarthfa Castle, which would make it a unique image of Cyfarthfa Castle interior in full colour. Another shows one of the crochet children riding a horse around the local landscape. There are many more scenes of Merthyr Tydfil created by Penry Williams, and several of these appear in a slightly different format upon the front of a banknote created by Cyfarthfa Ironworks in 1825. In the centre of the banknote is a depiction of Cyfarthfa Ironworks once more. It also shows inside one of the rolling mills at Cyfarthfa, as well as a stunning image of Cyfarthfa Ironworks and its 2 unique blast furnaces. It shows the Pontycafnau aqueduct and bridge that led to Cyfarthfa Ironworks and was constructed by Watkin George, the famed local engineer. Both the Cyfarthfa images and the Pontycafnau images were later turned into oil paintings that are currently in private collections. Finally, the note shows Hirwaun Ironworks, which was also owned and managed by the Crochet family. In the year after these paintings were complete, 1826, Penry Williams headed out to Italy to further his career as an artist, a career which began in his father's little cottage in Georgetown, Merthyr Tydfil.